We're back, and joining me now is Bill Burton, former Deputy White House Press Secretary in the Obama administration, co-founder, senior strategist for the Super PAC Priorities USA Action, Congressman Joaquin Castro, Democrat from Texas, and Congresswoman Gwen, Democrat from Wisconsin, member of the House Budget Committee. And Congresswoman, how are you feeling about the resolution to this whole thing on this evening as you are about to vote on something to finally get the government opened and the debt ceiling extended?
Chris, it's a relief, but it's very sobering, realizing that this is a short-term solution. And then come January and February, we'll be back with some real hard decisions and choices to make. For one thing, we're going to have the same group of people, and as John Boehner said, you know, he is still going to try to split up the legislative coalition that created the Affordable Care Act. They're still going to be gunning for the Affordable Care Act, in addition to which we'll be operating at the sequester level funding, where even the chairman, the Republican chairman of the Appropriations Committee, has indicated that it's $70 billion below the bare minimum at which we need to operate the government. We clearly have not talked about a job stimulus. You know, you hear this mantra of jobs, 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 but my God, at the stingy sequester levels, we can't even think about creating jobs. And immigration, gun control, all of these things may fall by the wayside. So it's a relief to get the government back open temporarily, but it's very sobering to think that that we still are going to have these challenges. Those same 40 obstructionists will be right there.
Yeah, Congressman Castro, do you view the priority for the Democratic Party, the White House, the Senate Majority Leadership, which will be the most involved in this, but also the House, as we enter a formal budget negotiation, do you view lifting the sequester as a Democratic Party priority?
Absolutely. That's something that we'll argue for. As Gwen mentioned, Democrats have not been happy with the fact that we're right now at sequester level funding. So that's going to be something that we're pushing for.
And is there also, Congresswoman Moore mentioned something that is remarkably absent in the political conversation, which is some kind of job creation or some attention to the fact that we continue to struggle through recovery that has massive amounts of unemployment. We are very far from full employment. Do you imagine anything on the agenda in these budget negotiations that can address that?
Well, you know, certainly I hope that Republicans will work with us on the president's jobs bill. And the remarkable thing about this, the economy was picking up steam, and it seems that when we get to the point when we're just about to take off and fully bounce back, we have another self-inflicted wound like this. And we're all hopeful, I think as all Americans are, that that won't be the case a few months from now. The best thing that we can do right now is let the economy bounce back, make sure people are going back to work, create jobs, and then when we get to a balanced budget and start paying off our debt, we'll be at a place where everybody will be satisfied.
Do you think that balancing the budget in the short term is something that needs more to be leaned into more? Are you confident that the current path we're on is actually moving us towards something that's going to get debt at sustainable levels?
Well, as you know, we had brought our deficit down at a dramatic rate. So we were very much headed in the right direction. And then we keep hitting these walls that are brought about by the Tea Party Republicans. So if we keep hitting these walls, then we're just going to fall back. I think that these guys need to realize the damage that they're doing to the American economy. We've come to a point now where our greatest challenges and our greatest obstacles is not another nation, but really, it is all of this infighting within the Congress, and specifically this group of Tea Party Republicans who insist on engaging in hostage politics, who are aided by the Speaker's use of the Hastert rule, and who have really damaged the country.
Congressman, I couldn't help but notice that Harry Reid in his remarks tonight in the wake of the Senate vote, the President in his remarks tonight, both mentioned immigration reform. The President talked about immigration reform in an interview yesterday. The Drudge Report today was bannering the fact that immigration reform was back. Raul Labrador, a Republican colleague of yours, says absolutely no chance. What do you think about the prospects of immigration reform?
I think we're going to make a full court press to pass comprehensive immigration reform in 2013. I think you're going to see the president engaged as he's ever been on this issue. And so it's time that we get about the business of dealing with real substantive issues and not just hostage politics and infighting.
Congresswoman Moore, do your constituents feel like they have a voice in Washington? Ted Cruz was talking about the voiceless Americans being impacted by Obamacare not having a voice. Do your constituents feel like they have a voice in Washington?
I can tell you I have really been buoyed by my constituents calling me to let me know that they appreciate the role and the stance that I have taken in the last 16 days. And it's such an honor to represent them. You know, during these times, on my worst day, I have really been honored to be here to represent their voices, just because they are, you know, my constituents are not frightened by the future. And the future, you know, holds a lot of promise with regard to, you know, filling that void for 32 million people who have no health care, for welcoming new immigrants, for really making the kinds of changes that can only be made in a real democracy.
Bill Burton, quickly, it's amazing to me that the House Republicans used to call the sequester the Obama-quester. Now they are claiming credit for keeping it.
Right, they're claiming it as a victory. And what you also see is, as you know, you hear these Democrats, you're the president, ready to move on, ready to do immigration, ready to get things done. You know, Republicans are going to be back to Benghazi and Fast and Furious and all the same old crap that they've been focused on this last year. There's going to be a real difference going into the election year.
That is all in for this evening, or for now at least. We will be back live at 11 p.m. Eastern with the latest on the debt deal, which is on its way now to the House, where they're expected to vote on it tonight, probably in our hour. Our coverage continues now with the Rachel Maddow Show. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Chris.